The term inclusion has a wider context than the term integration. Integration reflects the attempts to place pupils with special needs into mainstream in regular education. An inclusive education, however, is about how schools, classrooms, and programs adapt learning so all students can participate and contribute together. When observing an inclusive education, it's about ensuring that every student is learning in a safe, supportive, inclusive, and disciplined learning environment. As inclusive education is an approach for transforming education systems to respond to the needs of diverse learners, it's important to follow the main elements. UNESCO outlines that the elements of inclusion are about welcoming diversity, benefiting all learners, not only targeting the excluded, and providing equal access to education or making certain provisions for certain categories of children without excluding them. Australia has joined a global attempt to promote equality and equity to all students with disabilities in the schooling system. They have achieved this with the ratification of some major policies such as the Disability Discrimination Act of 1992, the Disability Standards of Education 2005, the Melbourne Declaration on Educational Goals for Young Australians 2008. An imperative policy is the Disability Discrimination Act of 1992, in which its objectives is to eliminate discrimination against persons on the ground of disabilities in areas of work, accommodation, education, access to premises, clubs, and sports. It also ensures that persons with disability have the same rights and equality before the law as a community. In addition, it promotes recognition and acceptance within the community of the principle that persons with disability have the same fundamental rights as the rest of the community. The Disability Standards for Education 2005 seek to ensure that students with disability can access and participate in education on the same basis as other students. The standards comply with the obligations of the Disability Discrimination Act and its main objective being to make rights and responsibilities in education and training easier to understand. The standards cover areas such as enrolment, participation, curriculum development, accreditation, and delivery, student support services, and elimination of harassment and victimisation. The Melbourne Declaration on Educational Goals for Young Australians is another policy in which Australia enforces into providing inclusive education. The Declaration outlines two main goals, these being that Australian schooling promotes equity and excellence, the second goal being all young Australians become successful learners, confident and creative individuals, and active and informed citizens. A critical factor in developing an inclusive environment is a positive classroom climate. Classroom climate refers to the prevailing mood, attitudes, standards, and the tone that you and your students feel when they are in your classroom. All classrooms should strive to create a positive climate so that students can create constructive feelings and emotions to their schooling experiments, thus affecting their success in learning. When designing a positive classroom, it's vital to take into consideration the factors in the social and emotional learning framework to ensure personal well-being in connection to one's learning. The resource selected is a classroom poster that is created as a class at the start of the year. It takes the students' suggestions and thoughts on what they believe they should demonstrate to be strong, supportive students. The collaborative task accepts thoughts and responses from all students and evidently decides on 6 to 10 morals for them to aspire to. The class can make the poster together, or the teacher can make a digital copy of the poster on an application to ensure that it's clearly visible. The students should repeat these morals every morning to empower them to do well and achieve the best that they can each day. The students will also have a personal smaller copy to keep on them that they can recite when outside the classroom. Utilising this resource builds a community in the classroom and a sense of self-belonging to the class by combining all students' ideas into one overall set completed as a group activity. This resource will be displayed visually in the classroom to remind students that they are accepted and welcomed within the class environment, and furthermore that they are treated equally. The resource provides opportunities for self-management growth by managing the classroom behaviours and morals for the classroom. Allowing the students to be involved in the generating the rules and morals involves the students in responsible decision making by constructing ethical decisions about personal and social behaviour. The resource selected correlates with the first two principles of inclusion out of the 7. The first principle is providing access and participation. The resource allows all students to actively contribute and have access to their own learning. It also allows students to have a say in their needs, well-being, and learning. Allowing students to have a say in the learning develops the growth needs of self-accusation. This is the highest level of Maslow's hierarchy of basic needs, in which students are achieving full potential of their creativity. The second principle utilised in this resource is valuing diversity. The term diversity is about empowering people by respecting and appreciating what makes them different in terms of age, gender, ethnicity, religion, disability, sexual orientation, education, and national origin. This resource accepts all levels of diversity and embraces everyone is different. Most importantly, the resource expresses that even though the class is made up of diverse individuals, they can still unite and be accepted as important human beings.